Good morning, Morai V'Rabotai, Beruchim Abayim. We are continuing on Masechet Succah. We are on Daf Nun Gimel Amud Bet. We started the Mishnah and maybe a line of the Gemara as well. Today's Amud is being learned as a Zchut Refuah Shelma for Rachel bat Edna, Rachel Simcha bat Nahid, Michael ben Nahid, Esther Bracha bat Chaya, Rabbi Avraham ben Tashgol, Shira bat Hemda. They should all have Refuah Shelma. Amen. This Amud is also being learned. Le'ilu Nishmat, Parvin, Bat Shlomo, whose your tzad is today. Hashem should have an aliyah. This week's learning of the community has been dedicated by Shea family, Dayan family, and Cohen families. Should be an ultimate zchut for all of their mishpachot. Amen. So we're going to quickly go through the Mishnah again. This is an offshoot of what we discussed, the blowings of the chatzosrot that we had in the process of Simchat B'Tashoeva. Now the Gemara is going to discuss that this is not just necessarily limited to Simchat B'Tashoeva, but they actually had the blowing of the trumpets of the chatzosrot every day of the year through the basic process of the korbanot and even the opening of the day in Beit HaMikdash. So says the Gemara, En puchatin me-21 kiyot b'mikdash. You don't have any day that has less than 21 blows of chatzotzrot in Beit HaMikdash. We mentioned that this is the minimum is 2 chatzotzrot, maximum is 120, and this was the shtei chatzotzrot kesef, the pure silver chatzotzrot that were made out of miksha, one solid piece of kesef, which was used for different purposes, as we'll see unfolding in the Gemara. But nevertheless, they would have at the very least 21 blows of chatzosrot in the mikdash on daily basis, ven mosifin al arba'im u'shmonem, and they would not have any more than 48. Now, says the Gemara, bechol yom Hayusham 21 kiyot b'mikdash. Every regular day you had 21. Shalosh l'ptichat she'arim. 3 for opening the gates and opening the process of work for Kohanim, la'avodatam, Levim, Shiram, Uzimram, to basically announce to the Kohanim and Levim that the day has started, get to work. And Tesha l'tamid shel shachar, there was 9 in the process of bringing Tamid Shel Shachar, and 9 for Tamid Shel Bar Harbaim. 9 plus 9 plus 3, that gives you 21. So says the Gemara, Musafin hayu mosifin otesh. Any day that you had Korban Musaf, just like Tamid Shel Shachar had 9, Korban Musaf also had 9, so that's additional 9. You end up with 30. Erev Shabbat hayu mosifin shesh. As we yesterday explained, they had 6 different blows for Erev Shabbat to remind people to stop working. The first 3 were in different stages of people who are working in the fields, and they need longer time for stopping and walking from the fields, in the outskirts of town, to their homes and get prepared for Shabbat. Second one is for storekeepers. Third one is for everyone in the house to kind of like take the food and do hatmana, get it ready for Shabbat morning. And the third, the second 3 are back to back in order to tell people Shabbat has entered and they have to stop any melachas. 6 on Erev Shabbat, shalosh la'aftil et ha'am mi melacha. 3 for stages of stopping work, v'shalosh la'avdil ben kodesh l'chol. The next 3 for dividing Shabbat that has come in from Friday. So therefore you have 6 extra ones now over here. Now Erev Shabbat shechal betoch HaChag, and if you have an Erev Shabbat inside Chag HaSukkot, then you add up everything together. Hayusham 48. That would be the maximum of the blows that you would have, 48. How do you get to 48? Says the Gemara, Shalosh l'ptichat she'arim. The 3 That would be the opening of the Beit HaMikdash, Ptichat Sha'arim. Shalosh L'Sha'ar Elyon, now in the process of Simchat Beit HaShoeva, going to draw the water. 3 for opening Sha'ar Nikanor, Sha'ar HaElyon, that's 6. Shalosh L'Sha'ar Tachton, that's 9. Shalosh L'Milui HaMayim, that is 12. Shalosh Al Gabei HaMizbeach, when you do the actual Nisuch HaMayim, that is 15. Then Tesha L'Tamid Shel Shachar, 9 of the Tamid Shel Shachar gives you 24. Tesha L'Tamid Shel Ben Ha'arbayim, you're already up to 33. V'tesha L'Musafin, that gives you 42. Now it's Erev Shabbat also, so you have the 6 of people stopping work, so therefore it gives you Shalosh L'Aftil Et Ha'am Min HaMelacha, and Shalosh L'Afdil Ben Kodesh L'Chol. 42 plus 6 gives you a subtotal of 48 is the maximum. Ad kan divrei HaMishnah. So this is our Mishnah depicting the minimum and the maximum, and all of this is going to be reviewed, and some of it is going to be challenged in the Gemara. So says the Gemara, look at Rabbi Yehuda. The Tani Rabbi Yehuda Omer HaPochet lo yiftchot misheva mosif lo yosif al shesh. Rabbi Yehuda has a different set of numbers. Instead of having 21 and 48, he has 7 and 16. Now, we mentioned 7 and 16 is really the same thing as 21 and 48. It's just divided by 3 because he's counting every set of Tkiyah through Tkiyah as 1 blow instead of 3 blows of shofar or chatzot. So therefore, you have 21 divided by 3 is 7 sets of blowing the trumpets, and 48 divided by 3 gives you 16 sets of blowing the chatzot. So says the Gemara, B'mai kamiflegi. Why would they count it differently? Is it just the semantic of what you call it? Gemara says no. It's actually more than that. Rabbi Yehuda savat tru atkiya achati. Rabbi Yehuda holds that when you count, every set is really 1. Every set is 1. It's inseparable. You can't count tkiya by itself. You can't count tru'ah by itself. They are inseparable, hence you have to be counting them as 1. Rabbanan said no. Each one of the blows is 1 blow by itself. They're not to be combined, and therefore 48 and 21 are the numbers. So it says the Gemara, where do you get this machloket from? Where does Rabbi Yehuda get this from? It says the Gemara, utkatem teruah. The pasuk says utkatem teruah titkeu. It tells you that the teruah is called the tkiyah. Utkatem teruah. You blow a teruah, equating the two together, and it shows you that they're counted really together. So it says that you don't have a teruah without a tkiyah, or vice versa. So it says the Gemara, Rabbanan said no. The reason that you have utkatem teruah is coming to tell you a halakha that we're very much familiar with in Chodesh Hashanah of tkiyat shofar, that you cannot possibly have a teruah without a tkiyah before it and a tkiyah after it. How do you learn it? Because it says utkatem teruah, teruah titkeu. So before teruah you have a tkiyah, utkatem teruah, and teruah titkeu. The end of the same pasuk is that you have teruah titkeu. Tkiyah after teruah. So tkiyah, teruah, tkiyah, every blow of shofar, which is mentioned as the language of teruah for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippurim. Again, we have it twice in Rosh Hashanah, a third time in Yom Kippur, and the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, the Mishnah, the Gemara there in Daf Lamed learn that they have to be compared together. So you learn that there are 3 teruahs that you have to blow on Rosh Hashanah, and each one of them we learn that has to have a tkiyah before it, and each one of them has to have a tkiyah after it. So it gives you a subtotal of 9 blows of shofar that is necessary on Rosh Hashanah. Chachamim say from this language of utkatem teruah, Utkatem. Teruah, you learn that every teruah, which is the main blow of shofar, has to have a tkiya, a peshuta lefareha, upeshuta la'achareha, is sandwiched with a kol pashut, which is what we call tkiya. So therefore, in other words, say Chachamim, don't learn that they are considered the same thing and it's a set and you have to count them together. No, each one of them is very separate. They're counted separately. And the pasuk is just coming to teach you that each teruah has to have a tkiya before, tkiya after. Says the Gemara, fine, but where does the Rabbanan get this, that we separate them from each other and count them separately? My ta'amayu, for Rabbanan, what's their reason? Dichtiv ubehakil et hakahal, when they wanted to gather the assembly of the Jews and Moshe Rabbeinu would speak with them, you would also blow the trumpets. Titkeu velo tariu. You would only do tki'ah and not teruah. So, you see, you have tki'ah without teruah. So they're standalone. If Rabbi Yehuda would be correct, there would never be a standalone, because they always come together. They're always attached. They're considered one call. They're one set. So Rabban, you see, from the fact that you have a separate tki'ah without teruah, you see that they're separate. You see that they're not a combo that always comes together. Titkeu velo tariu. Do tki'ah, but don't do teruah. So says the Gemara, if you say that tki'ah and teruah are one, so then obviously it's not going to be titkeu velo tariu. That sounds like a checkmate bomb kasha on Rabbi Yehuda, right? The pasuk itself says, do a tki'ah and not a teruah. So that's like it sounds like a checkmate. Now we have to really see how Rabbi Yehuda deals with this. Says the Gemara, Amar Achmanam, Palga the mitzvah avid, Palga the mitzvah avid. Says Rabbanan to Rabbi Yehuda, why, if you say they're the same thing, the Torah is telling you do half of the mitzvah? If the mitzvah is tki'ah teruah, so what? The Torah says do half the mitzvah? It can't be. So you see that they're separate from each other. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda, how does Rabbi Yehuda answer this checkmate? Says, no, that's not a mitzvah. That is just the simana ba'alma. It's not like the tkiot of Rosh Hashanah that you have to blow shofar. Moshe Rabbeinu wants to talk to everyone. Everyone has to come. So how do you call people? You have a mass text messages back. You don't have to do that. So you blow shofar. It's just a hechsher mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah. You really just need to get the people there for Moshe Rabbeinu to speak with them, so you do it. But in a tkiyah shel mitzvah, always comes with teruah. That's how Rabbi Yehuda answers it. Rabbi said, what do you mean? At the end of the day, it's correct that's a simana ba'alma, that Moshe Rabbeinu needs to get the assembly together, but Hashem has made that a mitzvah. So every time that you want to speak, because we want everyone to be there, you should blow the shofar tki'ah velo teruah in order to get people. That became a mitzvah just now. And if tki'ah never goes without teruah, then you would not have it just tki'ah without teruah. So you see, you have a mitzvah of blowing the trumpets, the chatzotzrot, that includes only tki'ah and not teruah. Says Chachamim, you see that they're separate. At the end of the day, this is a mitzvah. Hashem made this simana be'alma to get the people together as a mitzvah. And what's the mitzvah? Tki'ah, and not teruah. And therefore, you see that they are separable and they are standalones. So says the Gemara, it is correct that siman be'alma, but Hashem has made this siman a mitzvah that you blow tki'ah without teruah. Now the Gemara says, "Come on, ask the Hada Amar Rav Kana." Rav Kana said, "En last line, en ben tki'ah leteruah velo kalum." Rav Kana's shita is, you cannot pause between tki'ah and teruah at all. It has to be back to back. Now velo kalum says Rashi. Take a look at the last line of Rashi over here. Lo haya mafsik bintayim. You only would pause k'dei neshima, enough to just breathe between them, right? That's that you have, because when you have different blows, by the way, you have to stop between them. Now there's a whole machloket, and this is why you always have to choose a minyan that the Baal Tokea is a big Talmid Chacham. Usually, in proper kihilot, the biggest Talmid Chacham is the one that's a makri, the one that stands next to the Tokea, controls the tikiyot, how long they should be, and he decides if this tikiyah was good or if it was not good. You have to go back, do not have to go back. And the second biggest Talmid Chacham is the Tokea, right? Why do you need a big Tokea? You need a musical person. Why Talmid Chacham? Because it's complicated, right? This is one of the complications. Where to do it with two breaths, with one breath, or stop enough time that you would have taken a breath, but don't actually take a breath. So the general rule of thumb is, when you have two different kolot, you need to breathe in between. Because if you don't breathe, you make them one. You just pause in between, but it's really one kol. By the way, this in tefillah also is the same thing. Many of the hazanim, it's important for a hazan to be, even if he's not a Talmid Chacham, but at least has to know the basic laws pertaining to a hazan. One of the simple ones is, you cannot breathe in between one word. If you take a breath in between one word, then you just made it to two words, right? And Chazanim have this problem because they want to elongate some of the words depending on the tune, and sometimes they run out of breath, they miscalculate, or the tune is too long, and then they, you see them breathing in the middle. So that word just became pasul. And Baalei Batim who see this, they should make a note and go to the Chazan gently without embarrassing them afterwards and say to them. I'll give you another example. We had a Chazan just recently from Eretz Yisrael. Someone put him up there, and fellow is not a Talmid Chacham, and he's doing a Musaf, Chazara of Musaf, in the Kedusha of Musaf is Shema Yisrael Hashem Hashem Echad, right? And he starts a tune, Shema Yisrael Hashem Hashem. Instead of saying Echad, he starts singing it, Echad, right? So first of all, the Sfaradim, the general minhag has always been not to repeat words, right? Now, repeating words by Shema, we just had it yesterday, was problematic. But probably the biggest problem would be if you say Echad. It's like Efshar Litkayem. It's like a negatives the whole thing. It's Chas v'Shalom. It's like Kfira. I say Hashem is not Echad, right? I went to him at Kiddush gently. He didn't want to even, such a Amaritz, he didn't even want to accept it, that he made a mistake. Because the Gava, it's a problem. To have a Shayach Tzibur like that, it should be fired right away. So therefore, it's important to keep in mind that, when you take a breath in the middle of a word, now you just separate it to two words. This also happens to be very nogeya when you get to the Nanuim by Chag HaSukkot, you're doing Hallel, right? So when you're doing Nanuim by Hallel, Ana Hashem, Hoshi'ana, right? So you're doing Hoshi'ana, there's a lot of different sides, especially according to Arizal and the minhag of the general minhag of the Edot HaMizrach, right? So you're doing Hoshi'ah, right? Hoshi'ah is one word. Now is a different story, but Hoshi'ah is one word. You can't take a breath in the middle of saying Hoshi'ah. It's one word, and if you take a breath, you just made it to two words. It's pasul, right? So therefore, in the Tkiyot also you have to have, that's why the K'dei Neshima becomes a whole question also. Is it K'dei Neshima, the time that it takes to take a breath, or actually you have to take a breath? Right, so between two different simanim, if you're doing Tkiyah and Teruah, it's two different things, so you have to actually take a breath between them, right? And between Shvarim Teruah of the siman of Tashrat, it will become a question. Is Shvarim Teruah mamash one kol, or is it two different kolot that have to be coming together, right? So therefore, Shulchan Aruch makes a pshara over here, saying, do some of them by the Tkiyot de Meyushav, do it this way, by Tkiyot de Meumat, do it that way. In the beginning set of 30, do it b'neshima achat. In the Tfilat Amidah, do it with 2 different breaths, but back to back. So that becomes again part of what a Baal Tukiyah has to know in order to do basic Tkiyot for the community.
Is this why I understand that Dr. Mizrach the Baal Makri doesn't call out before each Tekiah, like in Ashkenazi, you say Tekiah.
No, we did that. Again, our minhag at least was, aside from the first one, because you haven't started yet, right? When he said the bracha of the Shema called Shofar, so the Tokea starts at Tekiah without the Makri saying anything, and then the Makri actually calls, Shvarim Teruah or Shvarim Utruah. But even that was a siman. Shvarim Teruah means b'neshima achat.
Right.
Shvarim Utruah, I don't know if the Ashkenazim do that exactly like that or not. Shvarim Utruah means you're doing it not b'neshima achat. And then they would say Tekiah, also to differentiate between Tekiah in the beginning of the siman and Tekiah in the end of the siman, meaning Tashrat, the first taf and the second taf would be Tekiah Tashrat, right? Mm-hmm. And then at the end, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, not Tekiah Tashrat. This is how they differentiated between which Tekiah you're holding. Is it the last Tekiah of the previous set or the first Tekiah of the next set? Again, without getting into Masechet Rosh Hashanah is going to be the next Masechet probably we're going to do, but without getting into the complexities of that, that's all buried in those 3 words over here, Elakte Neshima. Again, this is when you have the mic, you have to say what's important. It's like the Gemara Rosh Hashanah says once you have the shofar, you could blow more. But so I'm blowing more and saying things that are important for Baalei Batim to know. You have to understand the level of every community is based on the lowest common denominator of their Baalei Batim. That's what it is. So when you have great Baalei Batim that they understand the details of halacha and they stand up for them. If this chazan, instead of just hearing it from me, would hear it from 50 different people, right? He'll go quit his job. And that would be it, right? But the problem is nobody knows, nobody says, and these people are pedestaled as great individuals when they are really Amei Aretz. They should not be doing more damage in the community. So it says the Gemara. So this again, going back to the Shita of Rav Kana, says the Gemara, Keman Asla Had de Amar. This Shita of Rav Kana who says you cannot pause between Tkiyah and Teruah velo klum at all. They have to be tchufot. They have to be mamash back to back. Keman Rabbi Yehuda. It's like Rabbi Yehuda because imagine, Rabbanan say these are separate kolot. They're separate kolot. Tkiyah is lechud, Teruah is lechud. Rabbi Yehuda is the one that says Tkiyah Teruah has to be, it's one kol, it has to always come together. So the Gemara assumes that Rav Kana, who says you cannot pause between Tkiyah and Teruah, it must go according to Rabbi Yehuda, right? Now this would be a chidush because you have Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda, halacha should really be like Rabbanan. And now we find Rav Kana who's saying halacha that only makes sense according to Rabbi Yehuda on first glance. Says Gemara, Pshita, oh that's Pashut. Of course, according to Rabbanan, who these are different kolot, why would they have to be tchufot? Why do they have to be mamash together that he can't pause between them velo klum at all, even a small pause? Mar says no. Mahu de tema afilu Rabbanan. So you would have been able to say that this is Rabbanan ula'afukem Rabbi Yochanan. Listen well, and it's coming la'afukem Rabbi Yochanan. What does that mean? That means Rav Kana could even be according to Rabbanan, but he's coming to tell you, Rav Kana, that I don't hold like Rabbi Yochanan. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? The Amar, Shama tesha tkiyot betesha sha'ot beyom yatsa. Rabbi Yochanan says, and Rosh Hashanah we already explained, we set the platform, that how many tkiyot you need Meikar Adin to listen to on Rosh Hashanah? 9, right? 3 sets of 3. So Rabbi Yochanan says, you know what? You don't have to stand there for Shaliach Tzibur to do, Tkiyat Teruah. Doesn't have to be like that. You could get up in the morning and blow 1 Tkiyah, then go daven and do another Teruah, and then Sa'al Shabeach, do another Tkiyah. Throughout the whole 13, 14 hours of the day, you could do these 9 Tkiyot. Whenever you feel like it, right? So Rabbi Yochanan says, Shama tesha tkiyot betesha sha'ot b'yom. 9 hours, in the duration of 9, every hour you do 1. Yatsa is fine. So we would think that Rav Kana is coming to say, oh, no, not Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is too much already. But you could stop a little bit. And Kamash Malan, that's not like that. Ve'ema achinami. Says, why not? Say that you could pause a little bit, right? This that you would have thought that the Rav Kana is like Rabbanan is very plausible. That you could pause a little, but don't pause 9 hours. Mara says, no, you can't say that because Rav Kana says, lo klum. Lo klum means not even a little bit. If it was like Rabbanan, it would be okay to pause a little bit. But Rav Kana says you can't pause between Tkiyah and Teruah even a little bit. So therefore, it's clear that it's not like Rabbanan, and it's only according to Rabbi Yehuda. So says the Gemara, Erev Shabbat Shebetoch HaChag, he said Erev Shabbat that was inside the Chag, you would have 12 extra blows of shofar, right? So you would end up with 3 for opening the Sha'ar Nikanor, 3 for opening Sha'ar Mizrach, 3 for drawing the water, and 3 for pouring the water on the Mizbeach, right? That's 12. Anyone has a problem with this? Anyone that remembers what we learned in the Mishnah would have a problem with it, because you remember, we said you would have 3 for Sha'ar Elyon, Sha'ar Nikanor, then what? You would come until Ma'ala Asirit, they would stop on Ma'ala Asirit, and they would have another set of blows. You remember that? And we skipped that. We said 3 for Sha'ar Elyon, and next 3 is Sha'ar Tachton, Sha'ar Mizrach. What happened with the Ma'ala Asirit, with the 10th step? Right? So it says the Gemara, Ve'ilu Ma'ala Asirit lo katani. It doesn't say Ma'ala Asirit business. So it says the Gemara, Matnitin mani Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov he. The Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braita, Shalosh al Gabei, the Tanya Shalosh leMa'ala Asirit, right? 3 would be on Ma'ala Asirit. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov omer Shalosh al Gabei HaMizbeach, right? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says you would not have this 3 on Ma'ala Asirit. You would have 3 al Gabei HaMizbeach. האומר למעלה עשירית אינו אומר על גבי המזבח, והאומר על גבי המזבח אינו אומר למעלה עשירית. So our Mishnah over here that skips the מעלה עשירית is Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who skips the מעלה עשירית. Says the Gemara, my tabot Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, what's the reason behind Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is כיוון דתקע לפתיחת שערים למעלה עשירית, למה לי? Once you already blew a set of 3 for opening Sha'ar Elyon, aka Sha'ar Nikanor, why would you have to blow another set of 3 by Ma'ala Asirit? So it says the Gemara, Lamali, the Taka Hai Lav Sharu is not a gate. You're standing by Ma'ala Asirit, it's not a gate. Hilkach al Gabei HaMizbeach Adif. Therefore, it's more important to do it on top of the Mizbeach, which is a stage by itself. You're doing something special, versus you open the door, you're coming down to go open the other door. Why would you stop in the middle of the 15 steps and blow another set? Rabbanan Savri Kiwan the Taka Lemilu Yamayim Al Gabe HaMizbeach Lamali. Rabbanan say no. Fakir, the other way around. When you blow already for filling up the water and pouring it down is already the same processy, and therefore you don't need an extra set for on top of the Mizbeach, and therefore Hilkach L'Ma'ala Asirit Adif. Therefore, standing on the 10th step and blowing a set of 3, additional set of 3, is more important than on top of the Mizbeach. Now, the Gemara is going to go through a beautiful back and forth of proving, did you have any other examples of 48 blows? Can you perhaps come up with more than 48, maybe even 51 or 57? And Gemara goes through a process of elimination, trying to establish what the Mishnah said over here, which Bezat Hashem will continue and we'll discuss in the days to come.
Rabbi, so you can't take